Think your room is silent? You're just not listening to the gaps. In this Akihabara shop, unplugged radios have started repeating human whispers.
This isn't a ghost.
It's a Yamabiko, an ancient mountain spirit that has adapted to the city.
Standard exorcisms won't work here, but the real horror is the hidden sticker.
Listen closely. That echo in your room might not be your own. Mika and Aya's apartment no longer looks like a typical living space. It looks like a high-stakes workshop. The 1mm intrusion from the previous week has been physically contained. The main breach in the corner of the ceiling is now covered by a heavy, transparent glass bell jar, sealed to the concrete with thick layers of industrial epoxy putty. Inside the glass, the red silk thread is visible, suspended in a vacuum, a single, vibrant crimson nerve ending that occasionally twitches. Around the base of the jar, a neat circle of black obsidian stones and a heavy, salt-cured hemp rope, shimenawa, create a secondary boundary. This isn't high-tech weaponry, it's a physical and spiritual cage. Mika. She checks the seal on the glass jar. Her breath fogs the surface slightly.
The vacuum is holding. Without air to carry the vibration, the silk's resonance is trapped. As long as the seal isn't broken, it's just a specimen.
Aya. She sits at the table, methodically cleaning her camera lenses with a microfiber cloth.
I still don't like eating breakfast with a cursed object on the ceiling, Mika. Every time the toaster pops, I see that thing jump. It's reacting to the electrical current in the walls.
They had stabilized their home, but the house felt crowded. There was a persistent, low-frequency hum that seemed to come from the floorboards, a residual echo of the entities that had tried to cross over.
Aya. She pauses her cleaning and tilts her head.
Did you hear that? The bathroom faucet, it just hissed. But I turned it off 10 minutes ago.
Mika. She picks up a simple analog stethoscope and presses it firmly against the wall.
It's not the plumbing. It's a residual gap. The silk in the jar is trying to find a match. It's looking for other 1mm spaces in the city to connect with.
Mika's phone buzzed on the wooden table. It was a message from an old contact in Akihabara, a shop owner who specialized in vintage radio parts.
Mika. She stares at the screen, carefully reading the data displayed.
The Denkikura shop. The owner says his inventory is talking back. He's reporting localized audio feedback that matches the frequency we recorded during the red silk intrusion.
Aya. She stands up quickly and grabs her heavy tactical jacket.
If the frequency matches, then our specimen on the ceiling isn't an isolated case. It's a node in a larger network.
Mika. She reaches for a roll of heavy-duty silver duct tape and a small bag of powdered charcoal.
Pack the basics, Aya. No fancy sensors this time. We need to go back to the basics of sound and vibration. If the shop is talking, we need to find out who is listening on the other end.
They left the apartment, the deadbolt clicking into place. Inside the quiet room, the red silk inside the glass jar gave a single, violent flick, hitting the glass with a sound like a tiny, sharp fingernail. The Denkikura, electric cellar, was a chaotic cave of forgotten technology in a back alley of Akihabara. Mika and Aya weren't here as government agents or private detectives. They were here because the shop owner, a longtime subscriber to their YouTube channel, had sent a frantic DM titled, "The frequency you recorded in case number 005 is happening in my shop."
Aya. She adjusts a GoPro mounted on her chest and checks the frame alignment.
Mika, the lighting in here is terrible for the vlog. But the owner was right. The comments section on his post was blowing up. People think his shop is haunted by a pika, radio ghost.
Mika carries a tripod in one hand and a simple gear bag over her shoulder.
We aren't here for a ghost story, Aya. We're here because his description of delayed audio feedback matches the 1mm gap anomalies we've been tracking.
Shop owner. He emerges from behind a pile of old CRT monitors, looking visibly relieved.
Whispers Beyond Archives. Thank you for coming. I've watched all your videos. It started with the tape recorders. I'd test a blank tape, say a few words, and then, a minute later, a different machine across the room would repeat them. Not a playback, a voice.
Mika didn't pull out a high-tech scanner for the camera. Instead, she took a small tuning fork from her pocket and struck it against a wooden shelf. The clear note echoed once, then faded. A second later, from a dusty, unplugged radio on a high shelf, the exact same note returned, but lower, raspier. Aya flinches suddenly, pointing her handheld camera toward the high shelf.
Mika, did the mic pick that up? That radio doesn't even have a power cord. It's a passive echo, but it's delayed.
Mika focuses her flashlight on a tiny 1 millimeter gap in the radio's plastic casing for the viewers to see.
It's not a malfunction, and it's not a ghost in the Western sense. It's a Yamabiko.
Yamabiko? For those watching at home, that's the traditional mountain spirit that repeats what you yell in a valley. But why is it in a radio shop in Akihabara?
Mika, she looks directly into the lens with an analytical expression.
Because the world changed. The deep mountain valleys are gone, replaced by concrete and steel. These entities have adapted. They don't need rocks to reflect sound anymore. They use the 1 millimeter spaces inside our electronics, the gaps between circuit boards and speaker diaphragms. It's sampling the shop owner's voice, using the copper wiring like a nervous system.
As Mika explained the theory, 3 other radios in the shop clicked on simultaneously, their old speakers crackling with a dry, papery sound. Radios, in Mika's voice, overlapping and glitchy.
Sampling, voice, nervous system, system.
Aya. She backs away slowly, keeping the camera steady despite the tension.
Mika, it's repeating your explanation. It's learning the script.
It's training. It's mapping our vocal frequencies in real time. Aya, stop filming for a second. We need to disrupt its environment before it records enough of our voices to leave this shop.
The shop was no longer just a collection of electronics. It had become an acoustic trap. The Yamabiko was no longer just repeating words. It was layering them, creating a disorienting wall of sound that vibrated the glass on the display cases. Aya covers her ears tightly while still trying to maintain a steady shot.
Mika, it's getting louder. Even the unplugged speakers are vibrating. It's like the whole shop is one giant vocal cord.
Mika calmly opens her equipment bag and pulls out a large container of graphite powder.
It's using the dust and the microscopic 1 millimeter gaps between the copper leads to transmit the vibration. It's a physical parasite. It needs a clear path to mirror the sound. If we mess up the path, it can't sync.
Mika didn't reach for a complex frequency jammer. Instead, she began to scatter the black graphite powder, pencil lead dust, across the main work table where the most active radios sat. She points to the drifting dust for the camera.
In the old stories, you'd throw salt to purify a space, but this thing lives in circuits. We're using graphite. It's highly conductive but chaotic. It creates millions of microshorts. It won't break the vintage hardware, but it creates so much physical static that the Yamabiko can't hear its own echo.
Aya. She understands the plan and grabs several heavy wool blankets from the owner's back room.
And I'll deaden the room. Sound travels best in clear, open air.
Aya began throwing the heavy blankets over the vibrating radio stacks, effectively smothering the acoustics of the room. The sharp, clear echoes began to turn into muffled, frustrated grunts. Mika turned on the handheld fan and held it directly in front of the shop's main intercom microphone. The rapid whir-whir-whir of the blades created a constant, low-tech wind noise that fragmented the sound waves.
Yamabiko, you want to learn? Try to mirror chaos.
The creature in the wires struggled. The graphite dust had entered the radio casings, creating a million tiny scratches in the electrical signal. Combined with the muffled blankets and the chaotic wind from the fan, the Yamabiko's voice began to glitch violently. The radios let out a long, pathetic screech, the sound of a needle dragging across a broken record, and then, one by one, they went dead. Silence returned to the Denki-kura. The only sound left was the mechanical hum of Mika's little fan and the heavy breathing of the 2 girls. Aya lowers the camera, looking around at the graphite-covered interior of the shop.
Is it gone?
Mika wipes the fine black dust from her fingers.
It's suppressed. We turned its environment into a blur of carbon and wind. It's retreated back into the deep, dark gaps where it can't find a clear signal. It's not dead, but it's detuned. For now, it's just another piece of silent scrap metal.
They left the shop as the sun began to set over the neon lights of Akihabara. Mika was staring at a small piece of paper she had found wedged inside the back of the Yamabiko's primary radio, the one that had started the echo.
Aya. She reviews the footage recorded on her camera.
That's gonna be a great episode, Mika. But wait, what's that in your hand?
Mika shows a small warranty sticker. It is from a company that doesn't exist, marked with a tiny, split fox mask logo.
It's a tuning mark. This Yamabiko didn't just wander in here. Someone installed it. This shop has high-end communication parts. Someone wanted to listen to every secret transaction that happened here.
The Nine Tails again? They're using these gap monsters as a private, supernatural surveillance network. They're turning our traditional legends into spyware.
Back at the apartment, Mika checked the glass containment jar on the ceiling. The red silk was perfectly still. But when she opened the laptop to upload the day's footage, a single, new audio file appeared on the desktop. It was timestamped at 4:44 p.m., the exact moment they had defeated the Yamabiko in the shop.
Mika clicked play.
It wasn't a recording of the shop.
It was the sound of a fox's bark, recorded from inside their empty apartment.
They aren't just watching us through the gaps, Aya. They're letting us know they're already inside the archive.
The hunt for the fragments is no longer just a hobby. The Nine Tails are no longer just a theory. They are the ones holding the leash. Subscribe to Whispers Beyond Archives. The echo in your room might not be your own. Tell us, what was the last sound you heard when you were alone?